Hello, and this is King here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. I done a clan boss team using Frozen Banshee as my DPS, but other than that, this exact same team. So I thought I'd try Geomancer, an epic instead of a rare, and just show you how well of a difference that can make. Geomancer is an amazing epic. Just wanted to really see how well this team will go and really highlight how good Thylesia could be in a team like this. And it really shows because Geomancer also brings the buff strip, and he's also got the passive, which will deflect some damage. So should be a pretty good team to try out. So let's give it a run. It'll be pretty much the exact same rotation as the other team with Frozen Banshee. So it'll come in with already set up of everyone doing what they need to do in this first part. So most people just doing the A1s or rotating their skills, and then we come into this next part, and after the counter attacks, which I always forget about, so we can just do that. Make sure Geomancer does his A1 and Thylesia does her A1, and we're all good to go. The reason I'm doing that is because I want Geomancer to place his HP burn after the stun and before the clan boss AoE 1, just there. This way, during the next turn, when Thylesia does the extension, she will extend the weaken and all of that. His HP burn didn't land. Must have been a 3% resist chance. That's very rare, especially for a team like this. So with this team here, their counter attack isn't really that necessary because I'm not placing poisons. So Skullcrusher could be replaced with any ally protection. In fact, probably one of the better ally protection champions to be placed with. Obviously, Toragi the Frog is amazing and he brings poisons on his passive, so that would just be beautiful. But another team that would be amazing, another champion that would be amazing would be a rearguard sergeant, because she's going to make sure that you do have increased decreased defense in case Thylesia gets that 3% resist chance. And then to top that off, she's also got the other decreased attack on her A2, so she can really just make sure that the debuffs we need, the decreased attack, and the debuffs that we want, decreased defense, are on, because she's bringing it all over again. And then she also brings heals, continuous heals, along with her ally protection, which just allows you to make sure that everybody's getting the heals that they need. So as you can see with this team here, it's a very solid team. Thanks to Geomancer's passive as well, it should last a fair bit longer. And of course, he's a legendary in disguise of an epic, which is definitely going to be better than a Frozen Banshee, a rare. Of course, Frozen Banshee is an awesome champion, but you really need a team to support her and keep her alive. So this team here, solid team. We'll just run it through, see how we go. Obviously the hex and the decrease accuracy debuffs are not needed, but I don't have any poisons in this team, so I don't have anything to worry about there. So I'm not wasting spots in the debuff bar. This team is literally just Geomancer's passive, reflecting damage, and then everybody else coming in with raw damage. But their raw damage isn't that great. No one here's a real crazy raw damage champion, which means that most of that so-called raw damage is just from Giant Slayer and War Master procs, that sort of stuff. Now Geomancer is stripping that increased attack, but also giving it to himself. So having that buff strip will make a huge difference. It'll make a bigger difference than his passive. That increased attack can really hurt us, as you would have seen if you watched that previous video where the team just goes down with that increased attack up on the clan boss. You just don't have a chance. And because Skullcrusher is losing his increased defense on after the stun, so before the clan boss does their AoE 1, Geomancer's passive should really help just mitigate as much damage as possible, even though his defense is stacked, but it should help him out a lot with that. And because of that, you could actually stand to put a little bit of damage on Skullcrusher, because you know he's going to survive a bit better. So you can put a little bit more critical damage on him, and that way you know he'll still be alright. He won't be the first to die, and you can also pull a bit of damage from him, because he can smack really hard. Like 96.7k he just hit then, which is just ridiculous for someone who doesn't even have 100% critical damage. He's stacked to a high hell with defense. I think he's got his defense over 5,000, plus the increased defense buff and the 25% defense aura from Sepulchre Sentinel. So absolutely stacked there. But you just put a little bit of critical damage on him and it will go a long way. So a good team. As you can see, we're coming up with turn 21 on 17 mil. So the damage is there. I'm curious to see how much damage Geomancer really is putting out. Granted, most of it is going to be from his reflect damage. As you can see, just going crazy there whenever the clan boss hits. So if you put a Toragi the Frog, then this team becomes a mix of the two other 2 key teams I've done. And of course it'll be probably the best of them. I probably should have put a Toragi in and really just went all the way with it, but this team is very solid and I sort of just wanted to show it as it is. And then of course if you did have Toragi the Frog, then you'd be getting some poisons, and then the debuff bar would be looking nice instead of so barren and lonely that it is now. So yeah, it's a fun team. Very fun team. So yeah, going very good, very strong team. It's the same rotation. I went into more detail with the other clan boss team with Frozen Banshee about the orders and everything, but being a 1-to-1 ratio, it is very self-explanatory. With Ultra Nightmare mode, you sort of just want a team that I like to put 3,000 defense on my champions if they have increased defense up all of the time, and then I usually run a defense aura as well just to make sure I bring up a bit more, because you really want 4,500 minimum, I think, is best. Some people say 4.3, some people say 4.8. So if you go 4.5 as a minimum, then you're off to a pretty good start. Naturally, Skullcrusher, who doesn't have increased defense on all the time, so I had to really stack his defense up, hence why I got it to nearly 5,500. But again, yeah, he also comes in with the passive. And remember that, not the passive, sorry, the aura. Remember, auras only go off base defense as well. They don't go off the total defense. So I think his base defense is around 1,000, which means the aura from Sepulchre Sentinel gives him about 250 extra defense. So he's at, 5,700, 5,800 defense, which is plenty enough. It's definitely not wasted on him. And that's without the increased defense for that AoE one. So we're getting quite close there with a bit of damage. As you can tell, Skullcrusher does take a lot when he doesn't have the increased defense, and everybody has the ally protection, which can make it a bit of a scary comp. But we also are stripping that increased attack in the other turn, and Geo's passive should really help out. So this team here, I expect it to be a 2-key team, but it's not like an exceptional 2-key team because Skullcrusher isn't the optimal champion you would choose. For safety, you would go Rearguard Sergeant. For more damage in that sort of sense, like a safety damage champion, then you'll go Toragi the Frog. Great thing about Toragi the Frog as well is that he has that reflect damage he puts on himself, which actually makes him not the stun target. I think for an affinity matchup, he might still be the stun target, but in which case you're reflecting more damage onto him, which is just awesome. So yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Of course, you could switch out most of these champions. So Sepulchre Sentinel, she's just in there for the increased defense and the block debuffs. She's a very OP champion for mid-game, even into the late-game clan boss. That's if you're not running any sort of unkillable comp or something like that. But because her ability is on a 4-turn cooldown, it makes her very hard to use. So if you ever run a 2-to-1 ratio team, you kind of can't use her because it just throws everything out of whack and it won't quite match up. Thylesia, sort of a newfound clan boss champion. I'm really surprised with how well she does. I know she's an amazing champion and very book savvy, great progression champion, interesting, and she also is a attack-based champion, which can make her a bit squishy for a clan boss team. But yeah, she's very solid. Look at that, turn 38 and we're past 35 mil. Like I said, easy 2-key team. Again, if you wanted to make this team go so much harder, so much better, take out Skullcrusher, put a Toragi the Frog, and you'll be laughing. Your damage at this point would be a lot more, and you'll probably survive longer as well, because he also places that shield and that reflect damage on himself, which makes him all very solid. So there we go. Skullcrusher's down. I thought he was going to get down maybe a tiny bit earlier, but no, the team seemed to hold up pretty right. And yeah, and then Sandlight Survivor's passive coming in there with the ally protection to give you those few extra turns, which is great fun. Look at that, turn 42, and we're almost at a 40 mil damage. So it's probably like a 950k turn damage, thanks to Jay's passive there. So that's very solid. And as you can tell, the beautiful thing about 1-to-1 ratio teams is that they're pretty fast compared to 2-to-1 ratio teams. Even though this is a counter-attack team, which it doesn't need to be, I was just never thought to bother to swap out Skullcrusher. Anyway, here we go. So Geomancer coming in with 18.2 mil, absolutely smashing it. Sepulchre Sentinel just under 6, Thylesia just under 5, Sandlight Survivor 7.5, and Skullcrusher a little bit under 4. So yeah, if you swapped out Skullcrusher for a Toragi the Frog, everybody else would stay the same, except that ally protection champion's damage would be maybe like a 7, an 8, or a 9 mil. Sandlash might be a little bit down, maybe everyone would lose a little bit because they wouldn't have the counter attack, but then they would also probably survive longer because we've got the shield and the reflect damage on him, so he wouldn't die as early. So everyone's damage I think would be pretty very similar, except for the ally protection to regular frogs would be so much stronger. And then of course, just for a safety team to make sure that you don't have any bad RNG with the decreased attack and all that, then you can bring in a rearguard sergeant, and that's awesome and happy days. So I'll just show you these champion builds. They're very strongly built, but it is a 1-to-1 ratio team, so it allows that luxury of being able to build them strong. So we've got Thylesia here. She's got 43k HP, 3.1k defense, 174 speed, 107 crit rate, 170 critical damage, and 249 accuracy. So plenty of accuracy, plenty of critical rate to do what she needs. Critical damage and attack. She doesn't deal too much crazy damage, so I didn't really prioritize them. I just thought, oh, I'll chuck a little bit on because she is going in with a counter-attack champion. That's the only reason why I put a little bit on, otherwise I would have went more survivability. Then we got Geomancer here. He's just coming in at 176 to be a little bit faster than Thylesia. No real reason, it's just how this team rotation worked. With another champion like the Frozen Banshee, for example, you really wanted to get those debuffs out. He's just coming in with a little bit of survivability stats at 41k HP, 3k defense, plenty of accuracy at 263, good crit rate 106, critical damage is 190, and attack is 2.5. Again, his damage stats aren't there. His damage all comes from his passive ability with the HP burn and everything, so I could really swap out the critical damage and add more survivability, but again, he's not the first to die, so it's no issue there. Then we've got Skullcrusher. This guy here I've built like a tank. So he's got 5.5k defense. That was beautiful to do. 172 speed. I do 172 always on my slowest champion. Beats 171 because in case your true speed is out and it's actually like a 170.6, then you can start to get lapped over by the clan boss and it can just get real annoying unless you work out all your speeds or put them into a calculator. But if you go 172, then no matter what your true speed is, you're going to be safe with never getting lapped. This team obviously work in Nightmare, hence why it's a slow counter-attack team or a slow 1-to-1 ratio team. So yeah, he's got 4.4k HP, could be a lot higher for the ally protection, but I kept it low because I knew he was going to be a stun target, especially on the Force affinity. And yeah, just stacked up his defense. kept his critical damage 91%, so it's under 100. Again, if you just put that up to 110 or 120, his damage would be a fair bit better, but he's not really that worth it. I'd rather bring in a Toragi the Frog. As you can see here, Toragi the Frog with his passive, oh, it's just awesome. And then we also had Soundless Survivor coming in for her increase buffs. So she's built to do a fair bit of raw damage. So she's got 42k HP, 3.8 defense, which is quite high, 180 speed, so she's at the top of the order, ignoring Sepulchre Sentinel, because Sepulchre Sentinel's at a 43 ratio, so she's a bit over the place. But she's coming in with 239 critical damage, which is very, very strong. But again, being a 1-to-1 ratio team, it really, now that I've said this about 1,000 times, but it really makes it easier to build these champions. Now this isn't like the best gear I got going. You can see I got 3 rare pieces. I got 1 speed item and 5 life steal. I guess that's just worked out for the speed tune. Obviously I usually run a 2-to-1 ratio 1 key Ultra Nightmare team, but just playing around, which I suggest you do. Like Clan Boss I think is the most fun content in this game. So if you're not going to like enjoy it and do heaps of different things, like I just don't understand. Like, yeah, you can make an unkillable team that's a 1 key team and you don't have to ever think about Clan Boss ever again, but Clan Boss is fun. So much fun. So I like to think about it and just do random things and try random teams. So that's pretty much it. I didn't show Sepulchre Sentinel build. She's just got enough accuracy for A1, enough critical rate and critical damage to keep herself alive with lifesteal, 3k defense, 44 HP, and 242. So that was her main thing. It was her speed. I was just trying to get her speed right, her critical rate, her accuracy, and then everything else, just keep her alive, keep her healing herself. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed this little extra video with replacing Frozen Banshee for a Geomancer to really bring home that 2 key team. And yeah, if you want to see more of this, just message a comment on below or like it, let me know. I can do more of these, I can change them up a bit, do different things. You could also replace like a Geomancer with this champion, Urticata. I haven't done her masteries yet. I might see if I can knock up some quickly masteries and replace her instead of Geomancer, because that could be quite good, because she has got this passive. Whenever this champion or an ally lands a critical hit, has a 10% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff. So in a counter-attack team, that could actually be very good. Then she's got a 4-time hitter, a 3-time hitter with poison sensitivity, and a 2-time hitter with poisons increasing. So that could be really good because you have her increasing poisons. Then you've got Thylesia increasing hexes, poisons, poison sensitivities. So it could make the team really solid. And then counter-attack to get as many critical hits as you can to have your best chance of getting heaps of poisons out. So she could be a really good replacement for a Frozen Banshee. Not many 2 ratings, only 330. That's interesting. But yeah, maybe if I get her masteries build, I'll run her in a couple of teams. She could be really good with maybe even a Resin Skullhide as well, because he's got those multi-hit abilities. Anyway, let me know what you reckon. If you want some more videos and all that, let me know. Alright, thanks for watching and have a good day.